Paytm, Zomato, IRCTC, OYO, and now Nykaa. Do you know why these entities were on social media news recently? Because of IPO, initial public offering. If you want to know about the legal intricacies and the legal compliances behind the IPO, then this video is for you. But before that, what the heck is IPO? Let's understand that. You have a business idea, you want to establish it. For that, you seek some funds. You go to your friends, relatives, family member, you get the fund. That is a stage 1 of funding. Now, you have established your business, you want to get some people to work for you. For that, you seek more funds. For that, you visit an angel investor. That is a stage 2 of funding. Now, you want to expand your business to different cities and you seek more fund. The funds that even an angel investor could not afford at that situation. For that, you go to a firm, say a venture capital firm. That is a stage 3 of funding. Now, people are using your business. You know that your business is awesome, and if you get more funding, you will do amazing. And for that, you go to stage 4. That is an IPO, initial public offering. Here, you list your business on a stock exchange, maybe a national stock exchange or Bombay Stock Exchange. You offer your equity, people buy shares and you get the money. Equity, let's clarify it. You go to a bank and seek $1 billion for your company. Probably you would not get it, but just assume that you get it, right? What will happen here? There is 2 possibilities. First, your business goes boom. It's doing amazing. You are earning in trillions. In that case, the bank will get 1 billion plus interest rate. The second possibility is that if your company goes down, it fails, you will have to give bank 1 billion plus interest rate. Did you realize the liability? So this is debt, and in debt there is more liability. So what happened in IPO is that your shareholders are partners of your company, like technically partners of your company. You win, they win. You lose, they lose. You do not need to give $1 billion back to the people in case your business fails. And that is why business prefers IPO over everything. You could say that business dreams of IPO probably. Now you understand what IPO is. Now let's understand the process behind IPO. If you are going for an IPO, the most important step is to hire a merchant bank. Say you hired ICICI Bank.
Stop it. Get some help.
Not that easily. See, a merchant bank plays a very important role when it comes to IPO, and that is why you would want to make sure that you do your due diligence before getting a bank, a merchant bank. Let me explain why. See, if you are going for an IPO, if you want to go to public, you are going to give your shares. That share would have some value. Here, the merchant bank will calculate the valuation of your company, right? Say your company has been valued to be of 1,000 crore rupees. So, what you decide is that you are going to give out 20% stake of your company to public, that go public, buy my shares and give me money, right? That is what IPO is. So what will be the 20% of 1,000 crore? It will be 200 crores. So if you are giving your stakes to the public, you are expecting 200 crores through that IPO, right? But what if bank poorly does your valuation? Say bank, instead of doing 1,000 crore of valuation, valued your company to be of 100 crores. Then instead of expecting 200 crores, you probably would be expecting 20 crores. And that is why you would want to make sure that the bank you are choosing, you know what they are doing. Then comes the PR, public relations. See, who is going to buy your shares? It is we, the investors. But there is no certainty if we would buy it, right? So in that situation, you would want to see if bank has a good connection with its investor. If bank has proper tie-ups with the QIBs, qualified institutional bidders. Usually they buy shares in bulk, and that is why people prefer that QIBs get their shares. And that is why you would want to see if that bank has proper tie-up with QIBs around. Then comes the most important concept, that is underwriting. See, if you are going for an IPO, the bank is going to get your shares and sell it to the people, right? And in return, the bank will give the expected money, the money that you were expecting, to you. So what happened in undertaking is that bank calculate the potential risk, and then bank here assures that you will get 200 crores, right? It is our responsibility. And in case we fail, say suppose we were only able to gather 180 crore, then we will give 20 crore through our pocket. You do not need to get any headache for that. We are here for you. But in return, if you get more money than what you were expecting, say you were expecting 200 crores, but you get 250 crores. In that situation, the bank would either get 10 crore, 20 crore, 50 crores, as the case may be. And that is what we call it as undertaking. Through this medium, bank earns the money basically. Now comes the legal compliance part, the part we were waiting for so long. First compliance is to convert the private limited company to a public limited company. company in order to increase the free transferability of shares. Second compliance is to submit your red herring prospectus to the SEBI. A red herring prospectus. Let's clarify it. See, when an IPO comes, be it IRCTC or Nykaa, we as an investor does not know a thing about that company. How we are going to decide that if that company is good for investing? We would need to know about its financial structure. We would need to know about who the promoters are. We need to know about their plans. We need to know about their goals. And where would we be getting all these information from? From here. And the third compliance is being compliant with the rules and regulation. One of the most important rule is SEBI ICDR regulation. If you see regulation 6, it basically describes which company could go for an IPO. As in, you can go for an IPO, you cannot go for an IPO. You can go for an IPO, you cannot go for an IPO. You can go for an IPO. You can also go for an IPO. So what does it say? It lays down 5 conditions. The first condition is that your company must be having an asset, right? The tangible assets, say furniture or building or machinery. So the value of the asset for the past 3 preceding years should not be less than 3 crore. It at least should be of 3 crores. Second condition is that for the past 3 preceding years, your company shall have the average operative profit of 15 crores. Average operative profit? It means that, say suppose in year 1, your operative profit was 30 crores. In year 2, your operative profit was 10 crores. In year 3, your operative profit was 20 crores. So, average of 30, 10 and 20 for 3 years would be 30 plus 10 plus 20 divided by 3. That is 20 crores. That is way more than 15 crores, the threshold amount. And that's how you would be eligible for the IPO. Now, let's come to the third condition. It says that your company for the last 3 preceding years, say in each and every year, should maintain a net profit of at least 1 crore. Till now we have seen 3 conditions. And did you realize one thing? We have realized that it talks about 3 years. So what about a startup who just came into existence? It want to go for an IPO. Can't it go for an IPO? Like, will it have to wait for 3 years for that? It is not the case. Even a new startup could go for an IPO. And for that we got regulation 6 clause 2. That is our 4th condition. It simply says that if company fails to comply with regulation 6 clause 1, then such company will only be allowed to go for an IPO if it goes through book building process. Let's clarify it. See, I already told you the importance of calculating the valuation of the company. Here, the bookkeeping process is nothing but a process of efficient price discovery, and you would want to do it properly so that people buy your stocks and you earn the money. So, what happens here is that you don't fix a price for the investor. That, see, this is 1 share, it will cost 500 rupees, take it or leave it. Everyone will leave it. No one is going to have a blind faith for such a new company. So what happens here is that you give option to your investor. You give a bandwidth, the lower limit, the higher limit. Say you expect that your 1 share would cost 200 rupees. So here you give a value band to your investor. Say the minimum value is 180 rupees, the maximum value is 220 rupees. And once you put it out, you see that 10 people buys your share for 180 rupees. And then you see that 1000 people buy your share for 190 rupees. And then you see that 5 people buy your shares for 220 rupees. So you can clearly see the mandate of the people. 1000 people are vouching for your share for 190 rupees. So now the price of your share will be fixed to rupees 190, and that is what we call it as a book building process. Now what will happen to these people? 10 people who bought your share for 180 rupees, they will be refunded all the money. They will not get any shares. Now 1000 people who bought your shares for 190 rupees, they will get your shares, and the people who bought your shares for 220 rupees, they will get shares as well as 30 rupees of extra amount that they have paid. Now we were understanding what the 4th condition was, and we understood it till here. Now comes the 5th condition, the rest over part of this clause. Now it is saying that if you're not going with 6 clause 1, the long process, and you want to go for the short process, here the rules will be different. As in, suppose you want to raise 1000 crore rupees. Then according to this clause, what will happen that you will have to raise 75% of 1000 crore rupees, that is 750 crores, through QIBs, through the institutions rather than from the people like us. And in a situation where company fails to gather 75% of the funds from these institutions, then in such situation the company will have to refund every amount that it took from the IPO. And that, my friend, was the most important legal compliances under the IPO. And if you want to see more such video in future, do subscribe this channel. Thank you so much.